Claire Wilson, a dedicated English teacher, prepares for her first day at Westerbrook High School in the 2013-2014 academic year. In the school hallway, she asks Catherine, the French teacher, for directions to the faculty room, mentioning that she is new to the school. Catherine inquires about Claire's previous teaching experience, to which Claire responds that she used to teach at Riverton Middle School. During the morning faculty meeting, Principal Rivas introduces Claire as the new English teacher to the rest of the staff. Excitedly, Catherine suggests that they go out for drinks soon, offering to fill Claire in on the inner workings of the school. Claire appreciates the gesture. In the afternoon, Claire stops by the grocery store to pick up a few items. While there, she notices a lipstick display, discreetly takes a tube, and places it in her bag. Once in her car, she takes the lipstick out and tries it on in front of the mirror. That night, as Claire prepares for bed, she expresses her wish to her husband, Matt, that he didn't have to go on his work trip. Matt agrees, especially since it's the ideal time for them to try and conceive, given Claire's ovulation. Claire suggests trying again next month if they don't succeed this time. During their conversation, she confesses to Matt that she stole the lipstick from the store earlier. He finds it amusing, but she dismisses it as a harmless act. The next day, Claire meets her senior English class for the first time, and her students Eric and Josh are amazed by their beautiful teacher. As she reads Dylan Thomas's poem, "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night" aloud, one curious student fixates on her. Later, Eric visits Mr. Castillo's office to inquire about the Travis County Community Scholarship. The older man emphasizes that his role as the soccer team captain and his part-time job at the diner will positively impact his pending application. However, he must achieve a minimum score of 1,250 on his SATs. The student assures him that he will work on achieving this goal. During soccer practice that afternoon, Logan notices Claire getting into her car and asks Eric who the attractive woman is. Eric informs him that she is their new English teacher, but complains about the amount of homework she is assigned. After practice, Logan browses through Allison's Instagram profile, Eric's ex-girlfriend, and comments that she didn't look as beautiful when she was with his friend. He then looks at Mary's profile, Josh's sister, and teases his friend about her increased attractiveness over the summer. Shortly after, Eric asks Josh for a ride to work, and Josh agrees. Meanwhile, Matt texts Claire that his flight was canceled and encourages her to go out and celebrate her first day of school. When Claire looks at her microwave dinner, she decides to grab her things and head out. Just as Eric's shift at the diner is ending, Logan and Josh motion for him to meet them at the back of the diner. They pass around a spliff containing an illegal substance before pressuring Eric to prepare milkshakes for them. Inside, the three friends sit at a booth, and Logan spots Claire at the counter, expressing his desire to introduce himself. Eric and Josh reluctantly join him at the counter and sit next to their teacher. Shortly after, Logan receives a text from his mother, prompting him and Josh to leave. The student mentions that his friends expect free food because he works at the diner, but Claire insists on paying for the milkshakes. She shares that she used to work in a diner herself and understands the challenges of making money at a young age. Their conversation shifts to college applications, and the student expresses his desire to receive a scholarship to attend the University of Texas. However, he admits that he has taken the SATs twice already and fell short of the required score both times. Suddenly, he suggests that Claire could tutor him for the exam if the school permits it, to which she agrees. Later, after their meal, Claire offers the student a ride home. During the car ride, she mentions that her brother, who is a cop, lives in the same area as Eric. She plays a Frank Ocean song on the radio, surprising the student with her taste in music and finding her even more intriguing. While lying in bed, Claire checks her phone and sees that the student has sent her a follow request on social media. However, she decides not to accept it. That night, Claire has a dream where she shares an intimate moment with her student in her marital bed. Suddenly, Matt wakes Claire up and informs her that he was able to catch a late flight to get home. Despite his exhaustion from traveling, Claire suggests they make love to make use of her ovulation cycle. On the weekend, Claire dresses up and tells Matt that she's going out for brunch with Catherine. However, she is actually meeting Eric at the diner for their first tutoring session. A month later, Eric finds himself making out with his ex-girlfriend Allison at a house party. In the middle of their encounter, Logan and Mary walk in, prompting Allison to ask them to leave and stating that Mary deserves better. Soon, the police arrive to break up the party and apprehend the teenagers for underage drinking and drug use. Eric attempts to escape, but a police officer intercepts him as he tries to flee through the bedroom door. Later, Officer Nate Wilson instructs Eric to blow into a breathalyzer. Aware that having a citation on his record would harm his chances of receiving a college scholarship, Eric asks the officer if he has a sister who works as a teacher at Westerbrook High School. He pleads with the officer not to involve his mother and instead contact Claire, who has been tutoring him for several weeks. Moments later, Claire receives a call from her brother, who explains the situation with her student. Claire asks him to do her a favor and let this indiscretion slide, assuring him that she will come to pick up Eric as soon as possible. Claire tells Matt that one of her students is in trouble and she needs to go help him. Meanwhile, Eric sits on the curb next to Allison, who wonders how he managed to avoid a citation. Eventually, Allison's father arrives to pick her up. Later, Nate escorts Eric to Claire's car, and she thanks her brother for assisting her. Once the officer leaves, she scolds Eric for his poor choices, and he apologizes. Claire emphasizes the importance of keeping tonight's events a secret, including Nate's involvement and her offering him a ride home, as it could jeopardize Nate's job. When Eric addresses her as Ms. Wilson, she tells him to drop the formality outside of school and simply call her Claire. The next morning, Eric prepares for his tutoring session at the diner later that day. As he gets ready, his brother Phil informs him that there's someone at the door. To his surprise, it's Claire standing outside, and he invites her in. Claire explains that she couldn't reach him by phone, so she decided to check on him in person. Instead of their usual sati prep, she suggests they spend the day somewhere else. Eric arranges for his younger brothers, Phil and Devin, to go to the neighbor's house before he and Claire head out. In the car, Eric playfully asks Claire where she's taking him, joking that he feels like he's being kidnapped. Claire reveals that they're going to the University of Texas, UT, so she can show him around, as it's her alma mater. While walking through the campus, Claire asks Eric about his life goals. He shares that he's always wanted to become a doctor because he has a passion for helping people. Suddenly, a pickup truck stops in front of them, and Cody, Logan's older brother who attends UT, calls Eric over and invites him to a party at their frat house in a few hours. Initially hesitant due to being with a teacher, Eric agrees to drop by after Claire encourages him to go. At the party, Claire admits that this is her first official frat party. She explains that she never had the chance to attend social events during her student years because she commuted to school and had to take care of her alcoholic father. Eric reveals that he never met his father as he left his mother when she became pregnant. Claire encourages Eric not to let enjoyable experiences pass him by and urges him to live life to the fullest. In a moment of intimacy, Eric gently removes something from Claire's hair, leaving her flustered. They share a brief gaze before Claire suggests they head home. Upon arriving home, Claire deletes Eric's message expressing his enjoyment of the day. Meanwhile, Eric eagerly awaits Claire's reply. He checks her Instagram profile and notices that she still hasn't accepted his follow request. At the same time, Claire enters the house and sees the musical equipment that Matt recently purchased. He explains that he met some doctors at work who share his passion for music and want to start a band. Claire becomes angry that he spent their savings without consulting her. Matt argues that he used money from his grandfather's bonds, but Claire counters that they should have used it for something more practical. Hurt by Claire's lack of support, Matt ends the argument by walking away. Back at home, Eric excitedly tells his mother, Sandy, about his day at UT with his teacher. Sandy is delighted by the experience. That night, while Matt is asleep, Claire finally accepts Eric's follow request on her phone. The next day, Josh learns that neither Logan nor Eric are receiving detention for their actions at the party, much to his disappointment. Eric realizes that he can now view Claire's profile and smiles, prompting his friends to inquire about his joy. Their conversation is cut short by the ringing bell. Moments later, as Eric stands by his locker, he spots Claire standing outside a classroom. He opens her profile and sees a picture she posted of a tower at UT, along with a caption expressing her enjoyment of the previous day. Gathering his courage, Eric approaches Claire and asks if they can talk. She leads him inside the room. He asks Claire if she received his message yesterday, and she confirms that she did. He expresses gratitude for the campus tour before slowly approaching her. Suddenly, he kisses her on the lips, catching her off guard. The surprised woman pushes him away and firmly tells him to leave. Eric immediately begins apologizing for his actions and swiftly exits the room. Feeling stunned, Claire sits down at her desk and touches her lips, shocked by the unexpected encounter. The following morning, Eric wakes up from a dream in which Claire engages in inappropriate behavior with him in the classroom, with their classmates seated behind them. At the hospital, Claire and Matt meet with their doctor to discuss their chances of conceiving. The physician bluntly informs Claire that her uterus is rapidly deteriorating, causing her significant stress. As the couple prepares to go their separate ways, Matt suggests considering in vitro fertilization. However, Claire reminds him that she would be the one undergoing the invasive procedure. Overwhelmed, Claire asks to continue the conversation at home, as she is already running late for school. After English class, Eric stays behind to apologize once again for his actions. Claire emphasizes that what he did was not acceptable, as it could ruin her life if anyone were to find out. Eric promises never to disclose what happened and asks if she will still tutor him. Appalled, Claire firmly states that she will no longer tutor Eric and that it is not her responsibility to solve his dilemma of finding someone else. The student pleads with her to reconsider, explaining that he cannot afford SAT prep courses like his classmates. Sympathetic Claire relents, but only under the condition that he promises not to behave inappropriately again. During soccer practice, Logan asks Eric if he plans to go to homecoming. Eric is undecided as he doesn't have a date yet. Logan encourages him to attend, mentioning that he has arranged several hotel rooms for the after party. Josh suggests that Eric should take Allison since everyone knows they will reconcile anyway. Later, at the gymnasium, Claire and Catherine assist in decorating the space for the homecoming dance. Claire observes Eric asking Allison to the event, which she reluctantly accepts. This visibly bothers Claire. That night, Matt wants to continue discussing the doctor's visit that morning, but Claire avoids the topic, stating that she just started at Westerbrook and doesn't think it's the right time to start taking hormones as advised by the doctor. Matt reassures her, expressing his willingness to wait until she is ready to take the next step, and emphasizes his desire to start a family with her. The next day, Eric visits Logan's house and notices Cody's presence. Cody inquires about the woman Eric was seen with at UT. Feeling betrayed, Logan questions why Eric never mentioned someone he is seeing. Eric fabricates a story, introducing her as Stephanie, a UT student. When Logan asks when they can meet her, Eric claims that their relationship is uncertain at the moment, but they will meet her when the time is right. Eric receives multiple messages from Claire asking about his whereabouts, but chooses to ignore them. Meanwhile, Claire is waiting at the diner counter, wondering why Eric hasn't shown up for their tutoring session. Before the dance, the seniors gather at Logan's house for pregame activities. Josh becomes upset when Logan repeatedly mentions the hotel rooms he has booked, knowing that his sister Mary is attending the dance with his friend. During the dance, Catherine and Claire find solace in the storage closet, expressing their dislike for chaperoning the event. Catherine offers Claire some liquor from a flask to help alleviate her stress. In the gymnasium, Claire watches with jealousy as Eric dances intimately with Allison. Later, she confronts Eric about his absence during their study session. He apologizes, prompting her to remind him that he pleaded for her to continue tutoring him. Eventually, Eric admits that he has been avoiding her because he can't stop thinking about her. He confesses his attraction to her and his fear of getting her into trouble. Shocked, Claire instructs Eric to return to the gymnasium. Moments later, while Eric stands by the punch table, he locks eyes with Claire from across the room. She gives him a knowing look and heads towards the exit. Eric follows her to the parking lot and silently gets into her car. She drives to a secluded area and turns off the engine. Claire turns to him and states that they don't have to proceed if he doesn't want to, but Eric insists that he does. They both move to the back seat, sharing a kiss, and ultimately become intimate